Here's a bit of advice for the players out there. A bit of player talk today. If you want to make a more interesting character, this is going to be about role-playing more than mechanics, because this kind of applies to most RPGs. Here's what I suggest. Don't make a main character, or to be more specific, don't make a perfect protagonist. It's the coldest possible take that you should work flaws into your character. Have some flaws in mind. But more specifically, what I'm saying here is that you should make contradictions in your character. Have them want something that is not good for them. Have them have some sort of like two values that they hold in equal regard that cannot always work together. Like sometimes you're going to have to choose which one is your priority, which one do they think is their priority, maybe. These kinds of factors work into your characters, things that the GM can use to create drama. Now, in some games, this is going to be easier than others. In Legend of the Five Rings, you get at least two disadvantages chosen from various lists, and possibly more than that. And then those are actually mechanics that you can use to gain resources when those are enacted. So, I'm pretty sure Fate does a similar thing, if I recall. I could be misremembering on that. I've never actually played Fate. But anyways, so some systems are going to more directly support this. And even D&D 5e has a spot on the character sheet for like flaws, which, sure. I don't know that I've ever seen a table that actually uses the flaws, character traits, bonds, etc. Because I think it's largely because it's just so unobtrusive on the character sheet, people forget that it exists. And then 6 months goes by and you realize that you've never once interacted with that mechanic at all, so why start now? I suspect that happens probably a lot. But anyways, my table does not use them. I think I do still have it filled out on mine, but I'm not sure. Anyways, so some games will sort of mechanically support having character flaws, but even in games that don't, create issues that your character is going to have to work through, or which your GM can use to create problems in their life. There's a temptation, and I for sure have fallen victim to this. There's a temptation to always make the best decisions for your character, to sort of approach the game as if you are trying to win. To be the best character, not just because you are the most powerful, but because you don't do anything that is in any way bad for you. You see, somebody invites you to a dinner party and you're like, well, I'm not going to eat because maybe they're trying to poison us. That's crazy, to be honest. Like, most people are just going to eat. And I've in fact started doing that. I was like, oh, whatever. If we're supposed to get poisoned, sure, why not? No, I'm going to eat. Except now I'm playing a character that doesn't eat, so not so much with this one. If it's a mimic, let it be a mimic, if you get what I'm saying. I want to give you an example, but before I do that, I do want to say that this isn't about make incorrect choices and that is role playing, because I think that is a very dangerous, slippery slope that we can fall into and that some people fully embrace. Have your character, I think dumb characters, intentionally dumb characters, can work. They're more difficult to do well than you might think, because a dumb character done badly is a hindrance to the party, and that can impede other people's fun. And so you really have to watch out for that. Don't be a stupid character just for the sake of being stupid. Though if you want your character to not be that smart, sure. You can do that. Just you got to be extra careful to make sure that you are stupid in ways that are entertaining to the group, which shouldn't be too hard. And in ways that are mainly just disadvantageous for yourself. Don't be dumb in ways that that other people are going to have to like get punished for or have to like cover for, unless you have established already that those players are into that. So here's the example that I want to give of a character with complications in their life, complications in their personality. So I was playing as Brannick Ranwind, and I've reused this family name. So his great grandfather was a hero of legend. He saved the world, or he was a local hero or something like that. I don't remember. This was ages ago. But he was a big hero, warrior, powerful. He was sort of the player character of a campaign that never actually happened. So he retired with wealth and prestige and the love of the people. He was great. Real awesome guy. 3 generations later, you have Brannick. And Brannick sort of wallows in the prestige and the reputation of his great-grandfather and the wealth that has run out now, 3 generations of no working later. But he doesn't really get what it is to be a hero. He's not a hero at heart. He doesn't have like this love of saving people or helping people. He wants the glory, and he has all the skills. He is physically very talented. He was a warrior character. So he was actually, this was a 4th edition campaign, and he was a knight. So full plate armor, big hammer, shield. I spec'd into Constitution, like knocking people down and doing extra damage while they're prone and hitting them again when they stand up. That kind of build. So he's like, really throws his weight around, and he was very competent on the battlefield. But he really doesn't grasp what it is to be a hero. So when people came to him for help, he would inquire on the reward. Because to him, that's kind of what it's about. You get the reward. Be it, like, it didn't always have to be money. Like, he just wanted to make sure that he's going to be recognized. He wasn't doing it for free. There had to be some sort of tangible reward in it for him, or else he's just not interested. Now, this campaign didn't go on long enough for him to work through these character flaws. But I did kind of have in mind this journey that he would be taking, where he kind of discovers what it means to be a hero and what his great-grandfather's legacy actually is, So, and that's sort of a secondary part to creating flaws for your character. Create flaws for your character when you make them, but also imagine the journey that they might take to overcome these flaws, or for how these flaws are going to develop over time. They're not set in stone. They can change. People change over time, and particularly with the kinds of events that happen in a role-playing game, people are going to change. These are the events that really remold the soul. These sort of like big, impactful, world-shaking events. So, yeah, there's not a lot else to this topic. People, it's been decades. People have been saying, work flaws into your character. So that's nothing new. But what I'm saying is that there's certain flaws are more valuable than others for storytelling. Flaws that you can have a journey to correct. And obviously you don't know what's going to happen, because this is not a book that we are writing. It is a role-playing game, so no one really knows everything that's going to happen. But have an idea what sort of development this character flaw might have over time, and how you would like to see it resolved. And tell your GM about it. They tell them. You have to communicate for this to happen. It's probably not going to happen naturally, or at least not in the way you envision. So there's that. Don't do flaws that inhibit the rest of the party, or not inhibit, but like they bring consequences to the rest of the party, unless they are all on board as players. For example, the bumbling fool that trips all the traps, like without taking caution. That's the kind of thing that could really start to annoy certain types of players. So you want to be careful about that. And then thirdly, not just like deep character flaws, like, oh, that is a bad thing for someone to be. Give your character, like, it's not a character flaw to have values, right? Like that's to be expected and lauded. But to have multiple conflicting values, you're extremely conservative and orthodox in your views, but you just love new knowledge. At first, that seems like it's fine. They can work together, and presumably for your life up to that point, it's been going okay. But at a certain point, your seeking out of new knowledge is going to challenge your orthodox views. And so that is a sort of conflict that you can set up for your character in these ways by, like, establishing potentially conflicting values. Or, you have a deep personal desire for something, but also you have obligations to some organization or an individual, and those two are going to come into conflict. That's something that Legend of the Five Rings does as well. And that's actually like written on your character sheet. Like that is an intended specific conflict that is supposed to arise in your character. But that can be ported into any RPG. Like that's not specific to them as to L5R mechanically. Anyone can do that. So those three things I think are just excellent ways to sort of like get this syringe full of like character growth and interesting conflicts and just squirt it right into your character in the grossest possible way. You can take basically any character. Like, even if you've already made your character, you can come up with this kind of stuff, especially if after spending a couple of sessions getting to know who your character is and what their personality is like. Then you come up with these issues that they have been dealing with the whole time, and you can just sort of apply it as a layer of flaws on top of an existing character. It's not that difficult to do if you're looking to do it. And I think a lot of people are going to have a really good time doing that. And that will break up the monotony of like, okay, I am this like straight-laced adventurer who is adventuring for X, Y, or Z reasons, whatever. And I'm going to follow, I'm going to go through the dungeon very carefully, and I'm going to check for traps. I'm going to not trust anybody, and we're going to do all these like standard adventuring things, which I'm not saying you shouldn't do. You definitely can still do those. But like the how your character processes the world around them is not necessarily a great way to have a character, like a personality and an accent is not a full character. I think having deep internal conflicts is pretty important to that as well. So I would recommend inventing flaws for your character, and not just like, oh, here's a thing that a lot of people do when they're first trying to work flaws in their character. Like, oh, I hate elves. Okay. Like that's not that interesting to start with. Also, it's not really a problem for your character. It's a problem for any elf that deals with your party, So don't do that. I would say, like, blanketly, just don't do that. Don't pick a race and say, oh, I'm racist against that people. Don't do that. Have it be an internal conflict. Something that your character might not even, probably doesn't recognize as a flaw right away. How introspective do you have to be to recognize flaws in yourself? In real life, like, most people don't. They don't really think about the way that they are that much. And it kind of takes extraordinary events or getting to know someone really well who then looks at you and is able to see the problems in your personality or in your outlook or in your philosophies. these are not usually things that you come to realize about yourself. It's often things that either someone else notices or you have to like basically like see it in a mirror, like something that reflects it back at you. So anyways, that's how that's not even how to make a good character personality. That's just like a step, a little like glazing of flavor that you can put on top of basically any character. But yeah, that's my advice for today.